Hi, I'm Kevin, the developer of Starcom Nexus and Starcom Unknown Space. It's been a while since I've done a video update on the game. As I mentioned in the previous video on anomaly image creation, I post regular updates covering what I'm working on each week in the Steam announcements and on the blog, but sometimes I try to do a deeper dive on a topic, and often these dives are better in video format. Videos take a bit more time to record and edit together, so I don't do them as often. Previously, I showed how I create the anomaly images, so I thought I'd do a demonstration of creating a simple anomaly interaction. And recently I found some old pre-Nexus development footage, so I thought I'd take a minute to show that off as well. To recap, way back when I was starting work on Starcom Nexus, I really hadn't figured out what planets were for. Like I said in the image video, I had envisioned them as the equivalent to treasure chests. I've mentioned before that the primary inspiration for these games was a DOS-era game called Starflight. In that game, the player went down to the planet and collected animals and resources and a little moon buggy. And my gut instinct was that mechanic will not have aged well. And it would be very bad to spend months of development creating a mini game that was supposed to be a reward but turned out to be a time sink that was less fun than the rest of the game. So I wanted planets to be a very streamlined experience. My first attempt was to have a quick mini game, shown here, where the player would try to target anomalies on a planet, and if they hit them, would get a reward. And this was pretty quick to implement, but it turned out that it was really only fun a few times, and then it became either tedious because it was too easy or frustrating, and it was really hard to kind of modify it in a way that I thought was going to just progress throughout the game and be kind of entertaining for maybe hundreds of planets to explore. So I scrapped the survey minigame part, but I still wanted to have some planet interaction. And I think around the time that I was experimenting this, I had been playing a game called Out There that had planets you could explore, but with choices that offered some risk-reward trade-offs. So I started to experiment with making the anomalies a pop-up window where the player could choose from 1 to 3 options, and those might have rewards behind them. But while trying to write interesting stories for these anomalies, I found it was hard to shoehorn my ideas into the same pattern. Likewise, sometimes I just wanted no choice. I just wanted it to be like a quick resource or discovery. And sometimes I wanted a sequence where you went through several dialogues telling a mini story, or maybe one was available depending upon what your first choice was, etc. And that's when I realized that what I wanted was something I already had. Basically a dialogue tree. Just replace the character portrait with a picture from the planet's surface, and I could tell whatever story I wanted. I carried that core design forward from Nexus to Unknown Space with a few modifications, including writing a custom content creation tool with an anomaly editor, which I'll demonstrate here. Okay, let's create a simple anomaly. I've already created an image in view, so we'll just pick that. This is going to be a procedural anomaly, so we need to tell the game what kind of planets it can show up on. And then we're going to add our first node, which should be the NPC node, which is what the survey team sees when they land on the planet. Just cut and paste that in, and then the player response is any actions that the team can take. Let's see here. What do we say? Oh yeah. And we could give them some choices. Then for one of the choices, we give a result. And add some flavor text for one of the crew to chime in with. Don't need that. And because we want to give them a reward, we have to include logic for that. And there's multiple ways of doing this. We could actually give a direct amount, but reward scales based on the player's progression. So you generally want to do that so that if they're further along in the game, the reward reflects that. Okay, so that should be everything we need for a basic anomaly here. And let's test it out. And it's a crate or not a crate, but other than that, I think we're looking okay. And there's not really reason to give the player a choice. I just wanted to show how that worked. So we'll just delete that. But at this point, we have sort of a basic anomaly that could be placed in the game. And for comparison, here is a complex anomaly. Actually, probably the most complex in the game. This is the anomaly that's part of the Scepter quest. And not only does it have a large number of node branches, there is sort of an entire mini Lua program that parses the map and does various logic things like generates random encounters and so forth. So it's possible to have pretty complicated anomalies. I don't think that most anomalies should be complex. As I said earlier, that this is supposed to be a quick, low-friction reward that the player can get for exploring, discovering the star system, beating the bad guys, and so forth. But if some mission calls for it, the anomalies could get quite complicated. Okay, and finally, this is the output of the anomaly we just created, represented as JSON. Almost all of the game's content is stored external to the game as JSON files, hopefully with the longer-term goal of making the game accessible to modders. So thanks for watching this video, and thanks for playing StarCom Unknown Space.